Well, Dan, welcome to the show, man.
Thanks for having me.
It is my pleasure, buddy. My pleasure. It was nice to finally get to meet you. God, where were we? We were in I think Medina County. What city were we closest to? I don't even remember.
You're asking me. We're in South Texas,
Yeah.
Austin-ish.
No. I gotta think of it now. We'll have to come back to that. But we met up with the Numa guys at was it Cinco Cuernos? Is that the
Cinco
name of that
Cuernos.
ranch?
See,
Yeah. Beautiful place, man. And you're from Washington State, real, probably just a diehard Western hunter. I mean, that's what you do, your forte. So I'm sure that was very different coming to certainly a high fence ranch in Texas.
yeah, dude. The invitation was, hey Dan, come meet with the recon team.
Mm-hmm.
You'll get to meet Cable. You get to meet Justin, Chad, Alan Jones, possibly Amy, Will, the whole squad. And I'm like, okay. And you might be able to shoot an axis deer, which has been on my radar for so long. I've tried to hunt them in Hawaii, didn't get one. And you might be able to shoot a couple whitetail does. And then I was like, oh, okay. Then I'm going to bring some broadheads that I haven't shot animals with before, test those out. I didn't know I was going to get a chance to hunt high fence whitetail bucks.
Yeah.
Until we kind of got down there and things shook out. And man, was it a cultural shock for me. Texas deer hunting. When I think of Texas from now on, I'm going to think of whitetail deer hunting and then everything else under that.
Yeah. Well, and that place, well, I mean, we were spoiled, right? I mean, that's not how I had an opportunity at a buck and on that place in 2 days. I've been hunting the same damn deer on my deer lease, which is like 700 acres free range all season without any luck. So, I mean, that place was, they had a bunch of big deer. And what was that something that you struggled with from like an ethical standpoint or from like being transparent about? Like, you're a stand-up guy. I don't think there was any doubt in your mind. You're like, if I'm doing it, I'm going to be transparent about it. But was that an internal struggle for you?
Not at all. So I'm going to kill something. That's cool with me. I'm going to eat it. Case closed. Am I going to pose with a giant 181-inch buck, which is what I shot, and make it look like it was some public land, deal where I tried real hard and scouted and no, I don't fake stuff. But it was different though, Cable, in the sense that it wasn't a tiny little ranch with a really high fence with deer that are like named or tags in their ear and they come up and eat corn out of your hand. We were hunting from day one. Like we drove the property on like a little razor or a little side by side. Every deer ran away from us, and just immediately I knew, okay, these deer don't want to die. And it was a pretty big ranch, and it was so fascinating to me to learn the management. Like this ranch is working with Texas Parks and Wildlife. There is X amount of does that need to be killed this year, X amount of bucks. You have to.
It was like 80 or 100 does. I mean, the
place
was
150. It was 150.
Yeah. It was thousands of acres we're talking about. So
yeah. That's like, and the season starts when it starts. So you have, the guy said they got to average 7 whitetail does a day.
Yeah.
I was like, this is, I don't know. So deer density wise, my mind was blown. And then we weren't only allowed to shoot certain bucks, like bucks that management bucks, coal buck, whatever you want to call it, deer that
were like 5.5 years old or older. Yeah.
Deer that weren't going to be 200 inches when it was all said and done. So for me, I like shooting stuff. I like shooting stuff that I'm going to eat. Just don't try to make it look like it's what it's not. Would I go back? Absolutely. I mean, seriously.
Yeah. So I was wondering, like, because you and I had plans of recording a podcast while we were in camp, and then my wife ended up having to go to the hospital, so I had to bail early. unexpectedly, and so that didn't happen while we were in camp. So I wanted to get your take on all of these things. Having, I've hunted high fences quite a bit. I could pan around this office and show you some of the axis deer and oryx and God knows what other critters. Texas is a very target rich environment. And every one of those experiences has been unique in its own right and fun. But I wouldn't say that the trophies earned, you can't compare it to, say, a free range backcountry hunt, or even put the same value on it that, if I worked my ass off all season and finally do get this deer, that one's going to be just a little bit more for me, like personally. Yeah, I earned that one a little, it was a little harder. I had to invest more time and energy. And I'm not saying, like you said, these animals don't want to die. Hell, it took me 5 trips to get my first axis on this one place. And it was only 700 acres. The animals are smart, and they figure out what an ATV sounds like, and they figure out where hunters are more likely to be. So yeah, far from tame. This isn't, I think people have a misconception. It's just like a pen. It's 200 acres. We put the deer in there before people show up. That's not really the reality.
Well, I'm sure that exists, but that's not what we experienced. And I was really challenged on this hunt to really be able to judge deer better with truly looking at their characteristics and their body and trying to decipher between a 4.5-year-old to a 6.5-year-old plus deer. You just don't want to shoot the wrong deer when, like I said, actually you said it, we were spoiled. We were on one of the most well-managed ranches probably out there, with an incredible program of deer feed, genetics, like management, like literally. And you don't want to be some guy from Washington who shows up and shoots the wrong deer or wounds a deer, or there was a lot of pressure there for me that I felt, because I just didn't want to screw it up.
I certainly felt a little bit of pressure, but I was sitting there, and this is, it's kind of an excuse, but my head was not in the game. I missed one that was probably, I don't know, it was probably close to the size of yours. It was giant. 12, I think it was a 12 point. And I'm literally getting the text from my mother-in-law. It was like, I'm having to take Erin to the hospital. They're having to do an EKG on her heart and stuff. And I'm like, whoa, what happened? She started like vomiting at work and fell and hit her head. Once she got home, she passed out and hit her head on the bathroom tile. And they were like, well, something's wrong with her heartbeat. So anyway, I probably should have just said, hey, I'm done hunting. But also I was also like, well, I'm 6 hours away. I'm sitting in a deer blind. I can't get there now. Best opportunity is going to be just fly out in the morning. So I've shot, dude, it was like not even a far shot, and just shot right under this damn deer. And I was just like, really wasn't focused on dialed in on, bow hunting is such a mental game. And if you're not in it mentally, like, I shouldn't even been out there, I felt like. But man, I was also disappointed that I missed that deer.
Look, man, like bow hunting is like 100%, maybe even all hunting, but to hunt your best, everything's got to be dialed at home. And in your extreme situation, your wife's in the healthcare industry. She's a health professional, and she's getting an EKG. Any schmuck off the street's going to know EKG. She's young. What, like, who in their right mind would be able to hunt well? Now, paralleling that and the stuff that we talk about elk shaped camps is like, you can't go on an awesome 10-day elk bender and you just walk away from your family, your responsibilities at work, without really prior to that communicating, making sure that, I don't know, in my experience, you can't, if you don't have a happy home, you're not going to be able to hunt your best. You will be distracted. And I even say things like, if you have skeletons in your closet that you haven't dealt with, and you're going to go hunt solo elk hunting, that stuff's going to come up. So I think it's important, or a segue, to be like, dude, to hunt your best, things need to be dialed outside of hunting, or you can be distracted. Now, in this case, out of your control, but who in their right mind would be able to like stay focused with EKG? That is a big deal.
Thankfully, it was food poisoning. that just made her severely dehydrated. They kept her overnight. I got there the next day, and God is good. Everything was cool. But yeah, when you start talking about heart issues, you're like, and my, I don't want to talk about vaccines, but that was the myocarditis and all that stuff was coming to my mind. I was like, and she's vaccinated, I'm not. So I was just like, yeah, I don't know. But so anyway, that trip was abbreviated, and I loved getting the text though that you got the giant, the muy grande, the only one in camp that found success. So way to come down from Washington and show us Texas guys how to do it.
Dude, that deer was a pain in the butt. Had probably 1, 2, 3 really good encounters with him, and stuff that I would never imagine. Like the first one was, didn't know if I could shoot him or not, honestly.
Right.
And by the time I got a green light via communication with the ranch manager, opportunity gone. And then the second encounter was a short, brief one, but ethically I couldn't shoot him because my arrow would go through him and hit another deer. He always had some deer right behind him, doe or buck.
Yeah.
And that was hard to just sit and eat that opportunity. And then the last opportunity was one I made good on. He knew something was up, and he just came in for a second. And by the time I got my bow ready, he was like, I'm out of here. And luckily he turned and stopped for just a second. I was already at full draw and let her eat. But man, he had, all deer hunting's hard. It's just, things have to pretty much line up for you to make it happen and to get that opportunity. It was awesome. Yeah.
All deer hunting is hard. All deer hunting with a bow is exponentially harder, for sure. Trying to get within 40 yards of a wary whitetail is not an easy thing to do. So let's talk a little bit about your background, Dan. So you're joining us from Washington State, Spokane, close to Idaho. Is that where you're originally from?
Yeah, man. I'm from Eastern Washington, kind of born and raised. Sometimes I feel like I'm an Idaho guy just because that's where I hunt. I have a cabin in Idaho. I spend a lot of time in Idaho, but I live in Washington State, unfortunately. And I say unfortunately just because, Eastern Washington is a small part of the state. Western Washington, Seattle, Olympia, that's where all our decisions are made. And the people that live over there that make those decisions, we don't necessarily line up when it comes to politics.
We have Austin. So I think we all have those places. And I did just see, man, that you guys canceled your spring bear hunt.
It's gone.
Yeah, despite the, it's the same. Whenever you see these anti-hunting regulations, is the wildlife biologists, the state pays, say, hey, we need to do this from a management standpoint. It's a good thing. It helps actually manage and sustain the species and its population. No. Here come the emotional people. Well, no, we can't have people shooting bears. Why would we do that? Well, okay, now you don't have a bear hunt.
Yeah, it's gone. And it was unfortunate that there was no science involved, like you said. And to be honest with you, we have been doing the classic death by 1,000 cuts from a razor blade. So, your first cut was, hey, we don't need to allow bear baiting. That is totally unethical. Why is that unethical? We could argue, I could talk to you why that's not. It's one of the ways to do it and manage, and it's especially archery. It ends up getting you a really good opportunity with your equipment and to identify the right animal. You don't shoot a sow with cubs. Don't shoot a small immature boar. Shoot an older boar. Bears live a long time. So baiting gets ruled out. Next is dogs. You can't use hounds to bay bears. And while we're at it, let's go ahead and cut out mountain lion hunting with hounds as well. And you just do that. Then we take away the spring bear hunt over the counter. So we weren't over the counter in Washington. You had to draw, which was actually I haven't never drawn a spring bear tag.
Wow.
And so it's just, and then now that draw opportunity is gone. There is no spring opportunity. So you see how it's building up. You start with the lowest hanging fruit. Let's ban baiting. Let's ban trail cameras. Let's ban, you just kind of start with small things, but you're getting them banned and you work your way up. We as hunters need to check ourselves. We need to, just because you guys down there hunt high fence and maybe I don't think it's cool. This is an example.
Right.
I'm not going to promote banning high fence hunting because people are buying hunting licenses and tags and ammo and arrows and bow. You guys we're on the same team. And so maybe I don't agree with your philosophy or whatever, but I'm not going to abandon ship. So trail cams just got banned in Arizona. It starts 2022.
Yeah.
And yeah, man, I think it's stupid when you have 50 trail cameras over a tiny water hole in the desert and 50 people going in and going out. Would I vote to get trail cameras banned out of principle? I don't know, man. I just don't know, because if we start there, then what do we ban next?
Right. It's a slippery slope.
It is slippery, and so it's just tough. But yeah, we lost our bear season because it was a disagreement politically, and so they're like, fine, the way it's written is we don't agree. There's no season. And Cable, we have more bears in Washington than people can shake a stick at. Seriously, you can kill. Yeah. You can kill 2 bears on the east side of the state, from the Cascades over to my side. Starting August 1st in most units, you can kill 2 bears, and then you can also kill, I think, another bear, at least 1 more, maybe even 2 more on the other side of the Cascades. That's a lot of bears in the fall. And what they're understanding is that the bears compete for the proper calf and fawn recruitments because bears are omnivores. Bears can eat a fawn or an elk calf or a moose calf in seconds. And they're already in the same area in the spring because bears like grass to get the GI tract running, and moms dump their babies where there's good grass. It's an intersection. It's happenstance. And bears can, I don't know, I've seen studies where bears literally can eat several calves, fawns in a day. And that's just a normal day's worth of work.
Yeah.
And wouldn't you like veal? And they can eat them so fast, man.
My buddy got his master's in wildlife management from Texas Tech in the Texas Panhandle. And he did for one of his research projects, he helped New Mexico fishing game track or collar black bears. And they would find the kill sites through the tracking collars. Dude, most of the kill sites were mule deer fawns, and it was like 2 or 3 a week that they were killing. And you could find out which bears were better at it than others, but they all killed them. And you talk about why it's necessary from that perspective. What does a black bear tag cost? Most states, I would say, under $200. What does a mule deer tag cost? Most states, probably $600-700 for a non-resident. Like residents, I don't know. You can get it stuff's a lot cheaper. But for me, coming from Texas to go hunt those places, and I've killed black bear in New Mexico, I think it was like $200, maybe. So there's a lot more deer and elk hunters also than there are black bear hunters. That's a lot of money that is being lost when you talk about entire recruitment classes being, not being wiped out, but you're talking about a healthy portion of it being consumed by black bear. And then if you just let these bears go unchecked, you can't have the harvest, going back to the science like you alluded to, you can't have the harvest of X animal and then just pretend that the predator that eats it, was just left unchecked. Like, it doesn't make any sense at all.
Well, bears, if you were to say, hey, Dan, put your money on which animal is going to live longer, a New Mexico black bear in the Gila or a New Mexico mule deer buck in the Gila, my money's on the bear. The bears just live longer, like way longer. Some of the bears I've killed in Idaho, so we age, you can send their tooth. You actually have to take the tooth when you check the bear. They want to know how old the bear is, and you can look it up. I got one bear that's
in most states too.
It's pretty standard. I got one bear at 28 years old.
Goodness gracious.
28 whole what?
Yeah.
Several of the bears I've killed are, close to 20 years old. I've never heard of a mule deer living past 11 years old, really.
And that's ancient.
And that's the exception. So
Yeah.
bears live a long time. Sows come into heat almost every other year. And they have twins. They just live longer on the landscape. And so it's really interesting. I personally have come across double-digit elk calves that have been just devoured, because I spring bear hunt a lot, like probably average 4 or 5 weeks of spring bear hunting a year in Idaho. And I've been doing that since 2007 or 8. I got a lot of time logged, and I cannot tell you how many calves that I've been like, dang it, there's another one I didn't save. And so, yeah, if you're looking at balancing the equation and going against the argument of, well, if y'all didn't hunt, nature would balance itself. That would be true if there wasn't urban sprawl and people and our population growing and growing and growing. You can't make more land. So what we do have left as stewards of the land and wildlife, and being the thinking human homo sapien that we are, we have to step in there. And also, when you put a value on something, you'll have it. So there's a lot of value in bear hunting. You don't take that away from us. That's good money towards the states to help keep and sustain you. This is stuff you already know.
Yeah, and it transcends states and countries. Like, and it's especially true in Africa. If it pays, it stays. It's that simple. Okay. Well, I don't like the fact that you're putting a monetary value on an animal, Dan. That doesn't sound right to me. Okay. Well, do you want more animals or less animals? There's your answer. If you want more, then you have to have a value on it. But yeah, Idaho has a completely different mindset. And I've talked to some Idaho, it's Idaho Fish and Game, I believe. And I've talked to some of their professionals off the record. And they were like, you can say it, but we just don't want our names associated with it. But they shoot wolves out of helicopters. Like, they do.
Oh.
Yeah. Why would they do
God.
that? Yeah. But see, you don't hear about it because it's like they don't want the pro wolf people like making headlines with it and running with it and being like, Idaho just ruthlessly killing wolves out of helicopters. Well, that's what they do, and they do it for a reason, because they're in the business of wildlife management. They understand how much money those elk tags bring to the table when it comes to conservation dollars. Wolves are cool. Like, nobody wants wolves. I certainly don't want wolves wiped out again. We did it once. It was probably a mistake. But I think there's a population goal that you have to adhere to. Like, okay, what do biologists say? How many wolves is enough? Once we reach that, to me, it's open season. Kill them all until you get relatively close to your goal. And then the season, we close the season. It's real simple stuff. But
it's not different. When we shake hands, and I'm not saying me, but like the handshake agreement happened where, okay, the state's going to manage the wildlife. The wildlife belongs to the state. Yeah. Okay. Well, federal government says we need X amount of breeding pairs in the state of Idaho. And Idaho's all like, okay, copy that. And then it's something like 200-ish. I don't even remember how many.
It's 150 with 10 breeding pairs.
Okay, so there it is. And then we're at 1,500 plus. And Idaho, you can't do helicopter counts, especially in northern Idaho, especially in the Frank Church. Like, we got a lot of timbered country. So this is like erring on the side of, okay, we at least have 1,500, but it could be 3,000.
Right.
Okay. Why are you guys upset when I'm talking about, like, as far as people that are pro wolf? Why are you upset that we are doing a bang up job, exceeding the number that we said was the minimum, exceeding it by 10 times, if not 20 times that number, and you're still upset? And what is the cost of doing that business? Well, wolves got to eat, and they only know to eat, kill. That's just what wolves are, cool that way. But to me, they're just a dog. And I've had so many encounters with them in real life, including my daughter, who was 4 when she saw her first wolf at 40 yards in the wild. It's a dog, and this dog is cool, but we have to closely manage it, and it's very difficult to manage wolves, to be honest with you.
Oh my God, they're smart. Yeah,
they're amazing, and they have large appetites and very
People don't
proficient.
realize how much energy that tank has on a wolf in the pursuit. Like, it's not like a mountain lion will give up pretty quickly if it doesn't succeed. No, a wolf just keeps going and going and going. And if it tires, the next one in the pack goes to the
Tag.
front. Yeah. And then that one drops back, kind of refuels its tank, and they keep going and going. And they don't just kill the sick and the old and the young. It's like there's something that's breathing. That's a pile of meat. I don't care if it has horns or not. They don't discriminate. If they think they can kill it, they're going to try to do it.
You know, they don't also bite the neck like a mountain lion and it's over in 30 seconds. It is truly a death of 1,000 cuts, where you are going to basically be alive on your feet, but you're kind of dead and you're being consumed alive. It is just, Mother Nature. It's very real.
Yeah.
Mother Nature has her own algorithm, and it's one that we as humans identify as cruel. Mother Nature is cruel. Mother Nature is Mother Nature, and we're the ones with emotions. This is just an animal trying to get energy so it can have life. And I think wolves are a very touchy situation. Do I want them off the landscape? Absolutely not. Do I want them closely managed? Absolutely, yes, but I don't think you can.
Yeah.
You can try. And that's why Fish and Game has the resort to helicopter flying over with ARs, because that's just one small step to try to keep the number under 3,000 or whatever it is.
Have you heard it? This was something funny I saw on social media recently, and it just shows you the mind effing that's going on amongst our youth. And it was this group, they call themselves Dogs for Wolves. And they go and they stand around with signs and they take their four-legged dog out there and protest that their dog is for the wolves. Because it's like, they're so green and so yuppie that they're just like, our dogs are pro-wolf. Those wolves will eat your dog in 2 seconds and not think twice about it. That's the irony to me. It's like, I'm looking at little Fido there. Fido loves wolves. Fido literally would have his face eaten off in a matter of seconds. And you see it with hound hunters who lose their dogs to wolves frequently. Wolves don't care, dude. It's so funny to me. These people are like, oh, they think wolves are these docile, sweet creatures. Well, they'll literally tear your throat out if they can.
Yeah, I personally know several hound hunters who won't even run their dogs in Idaho in certain areas, like won't even let them loose on a track, because it's just a death sentence, and it's a horrible death. I have a cabin in Idaho. Like I said, we have had a family dog forever. And initially, before I ever saw my first wolf, I didn't see my first wolf in Idaho till I think 2010. And I did film it, and it was a pack of 13. After that, I never let my dog go with me to go check trail cameras or to go pick huckleberries or to do anything cool that we would normally bring the dog, because I straight up didn't want to bring my dog's head and spinal cord back home to bury it because a wolf saw it, because they will kill any dog on their territory. They're just being a wolf.
Yep.
That's insane.
Yeah. So going back to your background, when did you first start archery hunting?
2001 is when I shot an elk with a rifle, first elk. Did some research, found out you could hunt them when they're bugling, but you had to do it archery. So I said, okay, and went down to an archery shop and just bought a bow, and hooked ever since. So I think this was my 20th year of bow hunting. Okay.
So you've got, I think I'm about 12 or 13 years into it, but I'm not as hardcore as you. I fancy myself as just an equal opportunity hunter. You tell me the season, I'll practice for a month with said weapon that I need, and I'll show up. And it's probably cost me animals. Like, I think I wounded an elk in New Mexico this year. He didn't die. I shot him high, right above the vitals. I think we ran into him the next day, to be honest with you. It was in the same drainage. It was like 300 yards from where he was. And he had cows both times. We never saw him the second day, and he kind of ghosted us just from, I think he recognized our calling. He was responding, and then he was just shut up. And just, we never saw him or saw that. We knew he was with the cows again. But unknown distances is like, the biggest thing for me. And I even ranged, and I kind of told you the story in camp, but you know, I shot an elk for 40 yards, and he was 32 yards away. And it was just like the tree that I ranged, there's the elk. I thought the elk was parallel with the tree, but he was actually closer to me. Cost me, I mean, like up and down, the shot was perfect. Horizontally, the shot was perfect. It was like right there. And then the guy I was with was like, "Oh, you smoked him." And I was like, "Dude, that is not where I wanted that arrow to be." I was like, I saw him when he run, and great penetration, 3/4 into him. I was like, I don't know, it's 50-50. And so we waited an hour, trailing blood, little blood here, little blood there, and finally, we spent 2/3 the day on that track, and finally we're just like, this elk's still alive. There's no way that arrow killed him. And going back to, I practiced for a month before, you shoot all year, that probably is a slam dunk for you. And for me, it was just like, man, missed opportunity. But there's nothing that I like more than archery elk hunting. It's the thing that, like, and as a Texan, I don't have the Idaho border 15 minutes for me.
Right.
So I envy you guys. Yes, we have year-round hog hunting. We have a target-rich environment here, and there's always something to be hunting, but we don't have a trailhead basically in our backyard like a lot of the Western guys. So I'm jealous from that aspect. And multiple tags. You just went to Arizona. You went to New Mexico. I'm sure you hunted in Idaho this year. For me, it's like I get 1 week a year to do it, where I can say, okay, wife, kids, I'm checking out for 10 days with travel and going to do my elk thing. Like if I was to do that 3 times, I think my wife would be like, see if I'm still here when you get back,
No, that's a real thing.
She gave me an earful. She's very supportive, but yeah.
That's a real thing. Honestly, I had set a precedent as soon as I met my would-be wife was, I know the first year that we started dating was August, and I rolled right into a September, and I hunted probably almost every day. And at the time I was a videographer for Sportsman's Warehouse. So I believe I filmed probably 2 or 3 more hunts that year, including missing Thanksgiving, just behind the camera on hunts, and set a real precedent with her that, like, the fall is, I travel. I travel a lot for work and for myself. And this is what, this is how I choose to live. This isn't an excuse of, oh, this is my career. No, this is how I choose to live. And I think a lot of guys don't set a precedent early on. I think a lot of gentlemen, ladies, whoever, don't communicate their intentions way up front. Now, I still get in trouble, and this is going to happen in 2022, Cable. I'm going to draw some tags. I'm going to buy some elk tags, and I'm going to get them way early before September. And I'm going to go upstairs, and I'm going to write it on the calendar. I'm going to block it out. Shit, she's going to see that, and she's going to roll her eyes, and she's going to be like, really? You're going to go like back to back? And then I think, don't you know the kids are going to be starting school then? And then I have a knee surgery scheduled here. Like, dude, here's all that stuff. Yeah. It's always a challenge to be gone. But here's my promise to my wife, and I think everyone can promise this, that when I come back from that elk hunt, I'm going to be the better version of Dan. I'm going to get my batteries recharged. I'm going to keep my phone off. I'm going to have some downtime where I'm going to get to think about the direction I've been leading my life and our family's life. I'm going to do some deep thinking, and I'm going to come back with some reformations and some checks. It's a time to press pause on the game and look inward. And my wife has experienced that now for several years, to where I come back a better man after September, and a little more elk meat in the freezer. But hopefully she can appreciate like that. This is a part of me. This is what he does. And it's part of his balance that, as the man I married is going to be the better man when he comes back. I mean, it sounds cheesy, but it's real talk.
Yeah. Well, you made a good point that you set that precedent before you guys got serious. Like I didn't like, I was mostly into duck hunting and dove hunting when my wife and I met. So I think I think this was my 8th elk season in a row, mixing a couple of backcountry mule deer hunts in there. So, I mean, it's been something that I've certainly invested time and energy and heart and soul into. But yeah, she was like, wait, you do this elk thing? You did that last year. And I was like, yeah, no, I'm doing it every year now. So that's just a thing. So you can plan on being by yourself every September for a little while. And then this year she was like, well, and now Africa's a thing. And then you're gone for 12 days every summer. And it's just like, well, yeah, but it is work, but it is something that, like you said, nothing recharges my batteries more than that week in September where you're chasing bugles with a bow. And
Well,
sometimes I find success, sometimes I don't.
I am not fallible, man. Like when it comes to like, I have chink in my armor too. Like missing elk because of unknown yardage is a thing. And it's something we could talk about, but like, I have this rule where I just won't shoot unless I have the range, but there's examples of where that will fail you. Even someone like me who probably shoots his bow literally every day of the year, because I'm so paranoid that if I don't, I'm going to not be, I'm going to squander opportunities that could have, capitalized on. And I don't have a lot of other interest, Cable. Honestly, I don't have that much interest in anything besides faith, family, and elk hunting. You sprinkle some fitness in there. So yeah, like this year in New Mexico, I thought I ranged the bull at 55 broadside bugling. And I didn't range him. I ranged the tree behind him. I shot him for 55. He was 47. My arrow was just like yours, except for I didn't hit my bull. It literally gave him probably a haircut, but it didn't, no blood, nothing on the arrow, shot right over him. And that was like my one opportunity in 9 freaking days. I worked my ass off year round. I drove 24 hours. I slept very little. I covered so much country. I tried so hard, and I got that one opportunity on the very last day. And I sucked. I failed. And you know what? It only makes me hungrier for next year. And I'm thankful for some failure. Keeps your ego deflated, keeps that humility, keeps the hunger to train, to shoot, to scout, to get tags. And yeah, man, I don't have this thing figured out yet. I just know effort and attitude is the only thing I can control on a hunt. And that's what I focus on.
Yeah. Yeah. I am investing more time into the archery thing, because last year I took my bow to Africa for the first time. So instead of starting to shoot in August, you're like, oh, August 1st is here. My bow, it's got to be dialed in. I got to shoot every day. And I usually am pretty confident going in, like 60 yards and in, I'm good. I'm not, I know you can shoot farther than that. I'm not. But I took the bow to Africa this year. So I started that process in June. So I was really like put more time into archery this summer than I had previously. And there's times when I break it out in the spring, for turkey, or we can hog hunt archery all year long. It's not like I set the bow down and don't ever look at it again, but I certainly am not practicing religiously like you are. It's not part of my, it's part of like your chi. Like if you don't shoot your bow, I feel like you're like off balance.
Right. You are. It's a discipline. It's not a sport.
Yeah.
Archery is not a sport. Oh,
yeah.
I would argue it's more of a disciplined way of life, and it is my chi. And I am working to like become more proficient back with rifles. And my only motivation is to basically hunt wolves in the winter. And so I just recently got my, gun set up for just wolves, and I don't want to be like pigeonholed as, oh, you're only bow hunt. I like that you're you're an opportunist, a well-rounded sportsman. And I think that's important, especially because kids, like your kids are getting into hunting. Mine are a few years back behind yours, and it's probably not going to be an archery hunt, their first hunt for elk. It's probably going to be a doe with a 243 and a very controlled environment. And so I think it's important for me to have some balance in there, but you're right. It's a way of life. And, I would love to hear more about this, like Africa getting so many good quality reps in the red zone, because that's a target rich environment. And I'm here to tell you, Cable, when we were in Texas, after I killed that buck, I sat in a blind with Will Cooper, and it was doe patrol day. And I was like so excited because it was guaranteed I was going to get shots, and I brought a new broadhead, and I knew that I could take my time and I could just 12 ring does left and right. You know what? My heart rate still got really high as soon as I would draw my bow back.
Oh yeah.
The switch, man, it gets flipped, and it's like, this is life and death for this animal. Let's make a good shot. And even on a doe on a ranch, I still had an elevated heart rate, and I got to shoot, I think, 2 does that day, and Will killed 2 or 3 in a 3-hour sit. It was insane. I still got a high heart rate. I still felt pressure, and I'm super thankful for those reps in the red zone because they do transfer.
Yeah. A good example of that I experienced this weekend. My son and I went to the deer lease, and I was like very clear with him. I get to shoot 1 buck in this county. I'm only shooting 1 of 2 deer. That's it. We're going to see other mature bucks. I'm not going to shoot them. So don't. The first time I ever took him deer hunting, I shot a buck that I knew there were nicer deer out there, but I wanted him to experience seeing what an animal getting shot was like. And I wanted him to be excited about going. I didn't want him on his first trip he must have been 4 years old. I didn't want him to go and sit all weekend and think that nothing happened. So, but now I'm like, okay, Henry, I did that for you when you were younger. We're now onto something bigger and better. And we watched a lot of different deer go by. And finally, I was like, okay, bud, you've earned your opportunity. It's the last morning. Here's your 243. We've practiced. You're up. And he missed. Like the first, he was 2 for 2 on animals, on doe that he had shot with his 22-250 the year before. Well, now we learned about missing. And I asked him, I said, well, what happened? Were you steady? Yeah, Dad, but I'll tell you, I was shaking really bad. And I was like, well, were you cold? He says, no, I was nervous. He's like, I don't know, this thing in my stomach was going on. And I was like, yeah, but your adrenaline was through the roof. And that's just the way that hunting is. And if you ever lose that, then it's probably time to quit hunting, because it happens to me. You just described how it happens to you, even on a doe.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, that's just part of the deal. And we learned about missing and what your body does in that moment of truth, And I said, look, you've seen Dad miss pigs before. It's no big deal. You'll get the next one. It's a learning opportunity. You realize that you were just shaking a little bit. It's all good, man. We'll get him next time.
That is awesome, man. That's some life lessons right there. And I think it hits home that, like, man, you can do everything preparation wise for elk hunting, know the best spots, understand the biology, the behavior, have your weapon dialed and doped. But you got to remember, man, it's bow hunting. Stuff's going to go wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Animals want to live. You're going to get excited. You're a human being. I think you're absolutely right, man. If you ever lose that, hunting's ran its course for you. It's time to move on to.
Now you're just killing
something else. I'm not sure what.
At the end of it, at the moment of truth, it's okay. Now I'm just a killer, and I like to fancy myself as a killer, but that adrenaline never goes away for me, regardless of what it is.
Same here, man.
So let's talk about elk shape. You mentioned that you were working for Sportsman's Warehouse as a videographer. First of all, what is elk shape, and when did you start this thing?
Oh yeah, that's probably a good place to start. So, I heard people mention they need to get into elk shape, and I was like, that makes sense to me. Like, there's a certain level of fitness kind of required to go to those trailheads that are right by me and go try to match wits with an elk in their backyard on their home turf. Probably not gonna do that without some prior conditioning. Maybe shoot your bow a month before the season starts and throw a backpack on, because you're signing up to bow hike with a backpack on and to do hard work. That's elk hunting is literally, you're signing up to do hard work. And there may be a payoff or a trade-off at the end where you get an elk on the ground, and then you get to really experience what true hard work is. Grunt work, getting meat shuttled off of a mountain to your truck. Like, so if you are under the impression that elk hunting is more like romantic with beautiful sunrises and sunsets and elk screaming and stuff like that, and that you're going to pull them to you, No, man. Like, you need to listen straight up right now to me. Elk hunting is level 10 hard. It's very emotional as far as a roller coaster goes. There's a lot of highs, but there's way more lows. And you're going to screw it up. You're going to get smelled. You're going to get seen. You're going to get heard. You're going to miss. You're going to wound. You're going to experience other hunters that aren't cool. You might run into wolves, and you may not even find elk. And you may just do a 10-day glorified hiking trip. So, by the way, you're probably going to sleep on the ground to eat mountain house. So if you're not willing to know what you're truly signing up for, elk hunting's not for you. I think most people will go elk hunting and understand what I'm saying now and go, okay, yeah, he's right. Like, there is a thing called elk shape. In fact, I actually got into kind of elk shape on day 9 and 10. I wish I was in that good a shape day 1. It doesn't take much to get into elk shape, but it also doesn't take much to get out of elk shape. And I think that's where most people fail, is this time of year while we're recording, December, there's not a lot of daylight, hunting season's in the rearview mirror, and life's going to get busy, and you're just going to get soft and lazier and older. And
Holidays.
Each year it's going to, oh yeah, parties, alcohol, stress, you name it. All of a sudden it's August 2022 and you ain't done shit, and you're out of shape, and you're going to go match wits with this 700 to 1,000 pound animal that never got a day off in its life. And you're going to try to go do that, like, even on public land.
That, by the way, can move up and down a mountainside with the grace and agility that you wouldn't think is possible for an animal that big.
Effortless, really.
Yeah.
Limitless, truly. And so that's when I was like, man, I love elk hunting. I want to create a brand centered around the lifestyle of elk hunting. I'm going to call it Elk Shape because I am a fitness guy. Like, my background is strength and conditioning. That's what I do. That's what I've done.
I don't want y'all to think Dan's a square, though. He had a few beers with us in camp, trying out our Texas IPAs. But
yeah, I'm a sucker for IPAs.
Yeah.
If you guys didn't know, I like like, there's 2 beers that I love the most. Cable. It's after cutting an entire load of firewood and getting it loaded in the truck on the tailgate, a nice cold IPA. And then I like it when the last load of an elk is back to the truck at the tailgate, an ice cold IPA.
Well deserved.
Those are the best beers on the planet.
Yeah.
But to your point, yeah, man, I started Elk Shape and I wanted it to be a brand that could offer, sure, some motivation to stay on it year round, but more of like some lifestyle stuff too, like things I talked about early in the podcast, like having your shit dialed at home so you can hunt your best, having your finances dialed so you don't go into debt for elk hunting. I talk about things
People
like,
really do that.
You should see. I mean, these gear companies, man, these guys don't buy tags, they buy gear. Yeah. And I say buy tags, not gear. Over time, you can have your gear improve. But, like, man, like, having a budget for hunting, creating some wealth or a side hustle so you can make some money while you're gone hunting, trying to free up your time. I'm a time chaser, not a money chaser. So freeing up your schedule so that you can hunt and do it right and proper. That, and then obviously being in shape is super important, being disciplined, mentally tough. So to me, elk hunting is the greatest gift on this planet Earth. And if you are an elk hunter, please don't squander it. Take it by both hands, squeeze it, leverage it to create a better life for you. And that, to me, that's what Elk Shape is.
Okay. And so how do you deliver that to the hunter out there? Is it like, are you going around the country, or do you have online videos? What's your delivery method?
Seems like this day and age, I'm mainly a content creator, curator, whatever you want to call it, where we make a couple of YouTube videos a week on everything elk hunting, 365 archery, tinkering. We do a podcast like you and talk to awesome people and learn from them and lean on them. And I do sell some digital workout programs. But then the other thing that I do is I do live elk shape camps, which, to be completely straightforward with you, it's from a business standpoint, it doesn't make sense, but it's truly the one way I can to serve people the best is in person, in your face, identifying your areas of weaknesses as it pertains to elk hunting and giving you the blueprint to mitigate those weaknesses, whether it's your shooting under duress, you don't know how to e-scout, you don't know how to use Google Earth or OnX, You don't know how to find elk. You can't make an elk sound to save your life. You don't understand what the elk are even saying or why they're saying it. So your marriage is in jeopardy. So you're not going to be able to hunt your best if you don't focus on your marriage first. Your financial situation is terrible. You have no business buying an out-of-state elk tag. Like whatever it is, I'm a professional sniffer outer. I find your weaknesses and I'll give you a blueprint. And so I've been doing elk shape camps. This is year 5. We're only doing 4 this year, but yeah, we're coming to Texas, and this is like literally the greatest thing I get to do.
Well, man, now I'm intimidated to even come. I'm going to get dressed down. He's going to be like, no, you're doing this wrong. No, I think my finances and marriage are okay. So we'll be all right there. My wife averages 1 breakdown a year. It's usually on the heels of Africa in the summer and then an elk hunt in September. And then it's, oh, by the way, in a month and a half, I'm going to Illinois for a muzzleloader hunt. You know, the things stack up, and it's.
Oh, like, I'm right there with you. I am right there with you. Mine's in November.
No, November. Yeah.
Yeah. After elk season, and then I start picking up into deer. That breakdown, and then like, dude, this is real talk between two men. That like this is seriously a thing once a year, where it's not good, and I'm still trying. Like, I don't have it all figured out.
She hasn't had it yet this year, so I'm thinking maybe if we get through this year without one, maybe I figured it out. I've won the race when it comes to that aspect of the marriage. Like maybe she's just beaten down to the point where she's just over it, which maybe isn't a great thing, but I think she's just come to terms with it. And also the kids are a little older. They can wipe their own asses, and life is busier because they have extracurricular activities.
Yeah.
But it's not as like hands-on, like having to micromanage every aspect of their lives. You're hungry, go get yourself a bowl of cereal. Like you're good. You got this. So
yeah, I do think people get intimidated. And I don't know why that is. I would speculate that change is hard. And it's like, man, I don't want to put myself out there. But actually you do. Because if you're like me, you actually do want to get better. Like you want to kill that elk every year. You want a side hustle. You want things dialed at home. You want better fitness and better nutrition. You want to feel better. You want to do better, better employee, whatever. Like, so sure, get over yourself. That's a selfish thought. Like, I'm intimidated. You are being selfish. You need to be selfless. Go there, get served up, and find this formula, this recipe for you to live your best life. And to me, that's just a no-brainer, where there's an opportunity to learn from other seasoned veteran guys, and to probably iron sharpens iron. I love being around a group of other elk hunters, men and women, that share the same common passion as me. And I leave there reformed, inspired. And it's not just the campers getting, the changes. I leave every camp with like walking away going, wow, I learned this, I learned that, and I want to make some changes.
I think a lot of people are, like you said, intimidated by making themselves vulnerable. And I don't know, when I started hunting, YouTube wasn't really a thing. You couldn't find tips on there. And my dad didn't hunt, and so I didn't really have like a mentor. I just winged it, and certainly it was a rewarding way to do it. But God, the failure level, the screw ups was infinitely higher than if you would have someone like that you were learning from, that's been there and done that. First archery elk hunt I ever did solo, 7 days in New Mexico. I didn't know what in the hell I was doing. Like, no idea. Ended up missing an elk, but I walked away from that thinking, okay, cool. This dude from Texas, a flatlander, called in an elk with a hoochie mama, had that part of the game right, and then shot right under it, But I did it. I called in the elk, and then the next year I killed an elk, and it just, but trial and error is a great way. But there's certainly a curve there. Like there's shortcuts if you can learn from other people. And I think, in my hunting career, especially, I would have benefited more from something like from elk shape. Well, or like, if there was one for duck hunters, did learn that. A good resource for me, and this was back when hunting forums were really popular, and there's still some out there like Rock Slide and stuff. But like when it was duck hunting, I consumed a lot of information on just a chat forum. Like, you could ask questions. People weren't rude to you, you know, generally speaking. So there are ways to get that information. Reading magazine articles, you know. Man, I read every Ducks Unlimited magazine cover to cover. Delta Waterfowl, same thing. Anything I could find about duck hunting, I was consuming it. But yeah, we didn't have an elk shape for duck hunters back then. So it sounds like something, if you're interested in elk hunting and haven't done it, this would be a way to skip a few steps.
Well, my learning curve sucked. I shot an elk 5 minutes into my first ever rifle elk hunt, killed a 5x5 bull. And then, like I told you, I went and bought a bow the next year. That was 2002, 2003, 2004, 2005. No elk killed. And we're talking about a kid in his early 20s who had the entire month off with a little bit of college mixed in there, but talked to my professors ahead of time, told my employer, like, I sold out. I hunted a lot for 5 years straight, never killed an elk with my bow. It wasn't until 2006. There wasn't a lot of resources. I didn't have a mentor. I made every mistake that known to elk hunting man. And yeah, I'm surprised I didn't quit, because I had zero success. But to me, every year when I got home, I was so pissed off. I was just like, I think the word is anger. I was angry at myself for failing. I had all the time and resources to do it, and I just didn't know what. So I just would double down each year. I'm going to shoot more arrows. I'm going to work out harder. I'm going to do more scouting trips. I'm going to read more books, watch more tapes, tapes, kids, things like that. Because when I suck at something, it drives me more. And so it just kept building and building. And so I am thankful for the 5 years that it took me to kill my first bull with a bow. But that's what Elk Shape's been created, is to help mitigate. I don't want you to go through that. I can shorten.
A lot of people will quit if it takes them 5 years.
I'm going to lower that learning curve. I'm going to make sure you have the information. Hopefully, like you said, skip a few steps. You're still going to have to earn it. But it's going to be, a good place to start. So, and I want more people to get into elk hunting. I'm not afraid to have more elk hunters, because we need them, quite honestly.
Oh yeah. No, absolutely. I was lucky that I killed an elk on that second trip. And I think I went on a streak of 3 elk in 4 years. And now I've gone 3 seasons without killing, and I've shot an arrow every time. So being in the elk, not a problem for me. That moment of truth, though, like my son with the 243, it's like, do you have what it takes? Sometimes the answer is yes. Sometimes lately, the last 3 years, it's been no. And every one of those deals was pretty much having to do with ranging. Like one of them I didn't have time to range it. It was like, there he is. I'm shooting him for 35. He was 45. It was a downhill shot. It was just like, oh well, I shot right under him. Another one, I pushed my limits on how far I could shoot. And like I told you, 60 is my limit, 62 yards. Bow hunting is a game of inches. I hit him right on the front shoulder. I needed to be about 4 inches back. Would have been perfect. But I pushed my range there. It is what it is. And then this year, I already told you what happened this year. So, there's ebbs and flows. Luckily, I've had that success, and so I know I can do it. And I'm not gonna. It's not like I'm quitting. I'm more anger. I'm pissed about those last 3 seasons. There's no elk meat in the freezer, Dan.
Dude,
it's not a good thing.
Yeah, there's your fuel. And man, it's pieces to a puzzle, and you have this puzzle almost like you'll never have it completed, but you can definitely see what it's going to be, and it's just a matter of time now. And there's a few
I feel
things
like I know what the elk are going to do at this point.
That's everything.
Yeah. So
elk are so predictable. People don't understand that elk, no matter what state you hunt them at, they're going to do elk things.
Yeah.
And that's part of the learning curve, is understanding elk behavior so that you can predict what they're going to do before they do it and make moves.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The name of the game.
Yeah. Okay. So you started Elk Shape, what you said, 10 years ago? When did you start it?
Sorry, man, I don't know. So I started traintohunt.com with a buddy in 2010.
Uh-huh.
That went live. And then in 2013, I walked away from Train to Hunt and started Elk Shape and
Okay.
made it more specific to elk hunting. So 2013 is when we started Elk Shape.
And where will you be in Texas this in 2022?
We're actually going to Stonewall. So we're going to the Iron Game Ranch, and one of the owners of Numa has this ranch for us to utilize. And it's like, okay, I'm going to warn it. Well, if you're new to Texas, like I was, when I toured the ranch, I had to walk past like freaking zebras and Cape buffalo and
Oh yeah.
200-inch whitetail and 350-inch tagged elk. So it is at a game ranch. We're not hunting, but the facilities, the amenities, unreal. And it's a 3-day camp, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday in Stonewall, Texas. And it's in April. It's going to be awesome.
How do people sign up for that?
Go to elkshape.com. You can click on the link to the camps and learn more.
Okay.
And
Let's do
hustle
this.
up. Texas is like halfway sold out already, so it will sell out.
Okay. And what is the cost?
Till the end of the year, it's $7.99 for 3 days. And I'm bringing Joel Turner, who is going to change your life specifically on the high pressure shooting. He's a shot coach. He's a mental archery coach. He's the greatest coach. He's my coach. Dirk Durham from Phelps Game Calls is going to be there to teach how to make elk vocalizations with diaphragms and bugle tips, which is good for everybody. Mark Libesay is coming down to do the e-scouting.
Hands-free is a huge aspect of for me, like what's made me a little bit better elk hunter. Like, okay, now my hands are not occupied with a call. So
I didn't even think of that, but you're
same
right.
Thing with turkeys though too.
Yeah, you can't have calls in your hand. Like your archery, it's an archery elk hunting camp.
Yeah.
It's not a rifle.
Yeah.
You could be a rifle elk hunter and go to it, but I want you to bring your bow. I want you to be exposed to Joel Turner. We're going to provide the elk calls. Just show Dirk's going to teach you how to call. The e-scouting for Texas guys is probably the most important part. So Livesay is going to come in and teach you how to create a hunt plan through e-scouting exclusively, how to identify what areas are going to hold elk on Google Earth, on Gaia, on OnX, Base Map, whatever platform you like. That'll probably be one of the most important parts. We actually bring in Jared Lyle of Huntin' Full. So he's going to help you create a hunt portfolio plan, like your short, mid, and long-term plans. So you can draw some good elk tags over time. You can pick up the right over-the-counter tags. So they just, that you don't take years off from elk hunting like you're doing, Cable. Like it's just something you do now every year. You're not going to get better by not elk hunting. So we bring Huntin' Full in. I think they do a great job. We bring in a financial, Bynum.
Yeah.
He comes in there and talks about how to create a hunt budget so you're not going into debt. So the camp's a little expensive, but if you think about my cost to rent facilities and to fly all these subject matter experts, pay them for their time to be there. Like I said, I ain't making money on these. I do this out of like, this is the one thing that I get the most out of is the live coaching and helping people.
Awesome. So that's in April. Okay. And where can folks find that? Is it elkshape.com?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Let's do this. Let's take a break. I want to come back, wrap this up. You just had a successful hunt in Arizona, which I saw on your Instagram, and I want to hear the details about that. All right. Dan, thanks for sticking around, man.
Yeah, man. No problem.
So Arizona is a place that intrigues me. It intrigues every elk hunter just because of the massive bulls, but there's a catch there. When it comes to chasing them during the rut, you're going to have to apply for 20 years. I did it for 2 years, Dan. I quit applying in Arizona because every time you have to buy the license, $350, whatever ungodly amount of money that is. I was like, after 20 years, I could have just paid for a guided elk hunt and shot a monster bull. And so I just quit. I'm still buying points in Wyoming, Montana, Utah, Colorado. Basically anywhere where you can buy preference points, I'm trying to build them there, but I quit on Arizona. There's a way to still hunt Arizona with a bow. And I was intrigued to learn that when you mentioned that when we were in camp together. So talk a little bit about that experience.
Okay. So yeah, Arizona, very special elk hunting destination, very well managed, stingy. They're stingy. They're really stingy with their elk. They got a good thing going and they know it. They don't have landowner, no E+ tag programs like New Mexico. You own this many acres. Here's some elk tags. Do whatever you want with them. No, it's straight up through the fishing game of Arizona, and they do a bang up job of managing the allocation to where, if you're not a resident, odds are very low of you drawing a tag. And it is kind of a once in a lifetime draw. They got an archery elk tag in September. I think it's maybe 12 days. I personally will never experience that. I don't have the patience to wait 20 years, like you said, and it is expensive. But if you have some points, I would say keep putting in, because when you do go, it'll be the greatest elk hunt of your life. It'll probably be like taking candy from a baby. The bulls are screaming. There's so many bulls to cows that the competition's fierce. And there's literally rubs on every national forest road, Cable. Like, you're driving down the road and you're like, okay, a bull rubbed right there. He tore that tree. Like, what are these elk doing during the rut? Yes, there's that good of rut competition. So then the rifle tag, even harder to draw. It opens in freaking September, dude. Their rifle tag is like third week in September, something like that. That's a trophy elk hunt. You're gonna pass on bulls. And then from there, I think they have a muzzleloader, and they have a late season archery hunt, which is what I just went on. And then they have a late season rifle that follows the archery. And so I personally have hunted Arizona a few times doing the late season archery elk tag. Now, I will tell people right now, if you think you're going to do what I do and burn your points for that, please let me warn you on what you're signing up for. I've added the total number of days that I've hunted Arizona. It's 24. Out of 24 days, I've had 2 shot opportunities in 24 days of elk hunting. I've made good on both, but if that's a lot of time, stalks blown, foiled because of the difficult terrain that these elk live in. First and foremost, they're in canyons. They have lots of cover, and they have lots of underbrush, oak brush, manzanita, everything pokey and prickly that, your clothes are going to get destroyed. It's really hard to move in close to these elk. I would
Is
say
there snow on the ground?
There has been. There wasn't this year, but there has been. But it does get cold at night. It can get hot. It can get cool. It's just Arizona mountains. But these elk have it made, because these canyons, the wind swirls, like almost you can bank on the wind swirling and foiling your hunt. And if that doesn't happen, you can almost bank on them hearing the crunch, crunch, crunch of you trying to get through oak brush. So it's very much a difficult interception game with a bow. I would say if you have any points like less than 10, and you're like, I'm not gonna save a holdout for that archery or that rifle September tag, you should try to get that late season rifle tag, even if you're a bow hunter, because I think that would probably be one of the most fun, rewarding, challenging trophy elk hunts. Like, you're gonna see bulls, you're gonna have shots. Go find the bull that tickles your fancy. And it starts at the end of November. It's not a very long season. You'd want to get down there a few days prior, scout it out, and be ready to go opening day. But to me, that's the tag to get if you're in that tier of, I don't want to wait 20 years. Okay, well, maybe you'll have to wait 10, but do that late season rifle tag. The late season archery that I just did, it's not for the faint of heart. The odds are extremely low that
How
you'll
many
even
points
get a
did
shot.
you have to burn to get that tag?
I burned 6.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. So are
Yep.
you going to start building those points back up to do that hunt again?
Well, not if I talk about it on podcasts. I'll never draw again. But no, I try to keep it real with people and just like, hey man, you can go down there, you're going to see some bulls, but I don't know if you're going to get opportunity. I would, that's why I say do the rifle late season, because it's just right after the archery, and you're going to kill a nice bull. But I'll try to draw it. I probably won't draw it for another 10 years if I do, and it'll be just as hard as the last time I was there. And
harder. You'll be 10 years older.
Oh yeah, 10 years smarter maybe.
I told my wife my 40s are going to be my sexiest decade yet. So yeah.
Say what?
Yeah. Oh,
Give me
yeah.
the formula.
Well, it's less IPAs and more runs around the neighborhood. I'll tell you
Damn.
that. But yeah, no, I like fitness, and I always crank it up, before an elk hunt. As far as the cardio goes, but I like to lift. I mean, that's like my passion. I really enjoy that component, and I like playing basketball. I still play in a men's over 30 soccer league every Monday night. Just played last night. So I like staying active.
You're a
It's
shit
not
brick
a,
house, Cable. When I saw you for the first time, I was like, oh, that's not what I was expecting. You're a shit brick house, man. You look like you moved some weights.
I enjoy it, and it's the reason why I kind of fell in love with lifting over the last 5 years. They have free childcare at the gym, so yeah, it's like I pick them up from school. We come home, they have a snack, and it's like, all right, let's go. Daddy's got to get his workout in, and there's people that actually will watch you for free. And yeah, no, it's been I never really fancied myself as a guy that liked to lift, but I don't know. It's like it's a part of my chi, I guess. It's something that if I don't do some kind of physical activity every day, I don't feel good about myself that night. I'm like, you just wasted that day, you fat slob. I'm not skinny. I definitely have a little bit of a dad gut here from the beers, and I like tacos. But
I
if
love
I
tacos.
didn't do that physical activity, I would be like a beached whale. So, but I think from like an elk shape experience, if I could drop like 15 pounds, I would be really cooking then. So I'm sure you can help me out with that.
Yeah, and I would make it up. I would make it happen in a way where you didn't drop 15 pounds in a month. I would love to see you like do it pretty slow, pretty steady, pretty annoyingly slow, because that shit will last if you can do, the slower the results, the better. I tell athletes, and truly like to sustain it and to get to a spot where you can have an IPA, not all the time, but like you're at a kid's birthday party and there's ice cream and cake and you want to have that you don't torture yourself for having that. You jump right back on the bandwagon and maybe swap out a few poor choices that you've been doing with some better choices over time. Get your wife on board or whoever. Like, I think a lot of guys have goals or they just have sabotage with their significant other. They're not on the same page. You put ice cream in my freezer every night, and I'm gonna like somehow end up at the freezer with ice cream every night. Like I'm normal like everybody else. You just got to have like get on the same program, whatever. But no, man, you are a stacked dude. You're really well built. I could see the 40s being the best years. I hope to follow suit. I just turned 40. It's weird. I saw something on Sports Center Instagram. Do you remember that fight between like in Detroit in the basketball era when like Ron Artest?
Yeah.
Yes.
And Pistons.
Yes. 17 years ago. I'm like, I remember
where I was at a bar playing pool with like some of my best buddies. I remember exactly where I was.
That's 17 years ago, Cable. Yeah. What the heck? I am old. Yeah. That wasn't 5 years ago. That was 17 years ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
Holy smokes. We're old.
That's we are. We are for sure. Yeah, man. I think the kids help keep you young though. For me, for sure. Being a dad has been the most rewarding thing I've ever done. And raising my kids in that environment is the thing. Like, yeah, dad wants to kill. He likes hunting, but I see the beginning of that curve where it's like, okay, dad's going to get less opportunities because he's going to let the kids have those opportunities. And maybe that's why I haven't killed a big buck, because more times than not, there's been at least one kid, sometimes 3 kids in the blind with me. I'm not saying that they're the most quiet group, Usually my son is telling the twin girls, he's like, oh, shut up, be quiet. Don't make so much noise. Why are you banging your chair around? They're like, he's like trying to keep them on the straight and narrow. And then I'm looking at him like, okay, like you're really that quiet either. But
it'll happen though. It's cool to hunt 1 deer or 2 deer, like specifically. And I have that history, and That's the thing about having a lease too, is like, those are your guys' deer. It's a team effort. It's not easy. It's not like just, oh, I'll shoot anything. If it's brown, it's down. It's like, no.
One of the guys shot one yesterday. It was a wide 7-point that I had passed on. I mean, I was so glad he shot it, because that's just one less person hunting the deer I want to shoot. Selfishly,
I feel that.
I was like, Dan, really nice buck. Now you're out of the game for old Freaky.
Get the H out. You're out, bro. Yeah.
But no, we share pictures, and we're all trying to help each other. Whoever gets to one of those 2 giant bucks, I'll be happy for them. Happier for myself if it's me, but I'll still be happy for them.
Yeah.
For sure. I think that's pretty much all I want to cover on our first visit. I'm sure we'll do another one. You've got a ton of backcountry experience stuff that and stories that I could pick your brain for unlimited amount of time, but we'll wrap it up here. The website again is elkshape.com. YouTube, same. And obviously Instagram, elkshape. Are they censoring you yet on Instagram?
I don't think so yet, but I do think that my day's coming.
Yeah.
I'm not as like outspoken about certain things that maybe you are.
Politics. Yeah.
I try to avoid politics and stuff, but it doesn't mean I don't have strong opinions.
Yeah. That's one of the reasons why I liked you so much when I met you. There is this sect of Western hunters that's like BHA till I die. Like, okay, so you guys all vote for Biden, right? Who says he wants to take our guns away, right? He actually says that. What funds wildlife conservation? By and large, a lot of it comes from Pittman-Robertson dollars. What funds the Pittman-Robertson Fund or Act of 1937? Ammunition sales, right? So and every state wildlife agency is benefiting from those dollars, Dan.
Oh, big time.
How are people telling me that they need to vote for a guy who essentially wants to take away the biggest fundamental, number one, right that we have, but number two, the biggest conservation funding method that exists? He wants to put a huge dent in those monies. Like, that just doesn't jive with me. So when you were like, yeah, I'm not really part of that Western sect, I was like, yeah, this is a guy I think I'm going to enjoy hanging out with.
I haven't met those guys that like I personally haven't in my circle. I just don't run into any like hipster Western man bun, micro brew drinking, like all those things that get made fun of. I haven't met those guys. I meet the blue collar, diehard people that just they like freedom. They don't like big government, and they want to raise their family right. And they don't want to be told what to do because this is America. Right. So if that gets me shadow banned on Instagram, so be it. There's other platforms. I'm not going to stop. That's why I like podcast Cable. I like that people can digest this media right now. Maybe they do it on their drive or their commute, but they can consume it while they're doing other things. If we say something that really resonates, they can press pause and write something down or look something up. Podcasts are here to stay. I don't know if IG is it, big tech and all that stuff. Like, who can you trust the media? What is the media? We're the media. More podcasting, more keeping it real. It'll work out. Yeah. It'll work out over time.
Well, I'm not going to change. So if I go away on Instagram, so be it. Like you said, it is what it is.
Yep.
And Dan, I've lost sponsors for that mindset, but I've gotten sponsors like Numa. Like that switch was just like, I was talking to the owner, and he was in camp with us, and I said, "This is where I'm coming from with a previous relationship. What are your thoughts on these things?" Cable, I've been following what you've been doing for years. You do you. We'll support it. I was like, well, this feels like home to me. And we haven't even talked about the gear, but dude, I've been blown away. And Numa has tons of great stuff already out and more stuff coming out that I think they're really going to take the industry by the balls.
I know they are. I was an early adopter last year and kind of put myself, to be honest, like I felt like I was putting myself out there a little bit. I was a guy who wore Sitka since 2007, nothing else. And to go from that to Numa was a big step for me. And it's been an amazing decision to watch how much they support me for being me and doing what I do. And for them to say that we'll support you, Cable, just do you. And guys listening, if you want to get in the hunting industry, grab a number. We know that our jobs are coveted. We know people want to get in it. And there's guys that'll do more for less just to get in. I completely understand that. But from a guy who's in the industry, you're in the industry, like, look, we want to do us. We don't want a novel of deliverables. I mean, if you want me to read an ad on a podcast, that's fine. I can read your ad, but I need you to post this picture, and this picture on Instagram 4 or 5 times with this hashtag and tag us. And will you put this in your, like, I don't feel like I signed up to be an infomercial, at least on my social media.
Right.
If I can just utilize your gear, people notice shit that I would never guess them to. And so Numa has allowed me to do me. That has been so big for me. What were you wearing? If you don't want to say, that's fine, but I don't know what were you using before
First
Numa?
Light. And First Light made great gear.
Yeah, they do.
You know, I don't have anything bad to say about First Light. It's just Numa was a better fit for me philosophically. So
I respect that.
Yeah.
And I think people respect you, Cable, because you're real. And if you're looking to get in the industry, here's your formula. Do you, be authentic. Don't fake stuff. Hustle hard. That's what Cable's done. How long have you had your podcast?
Just had 600th episode. So over 12 years.
12 years. I'm on year 4, finishing up year 4. I'm a baby podcaster compared to you. You're an OG doing you. And so you're an original gangster.
To be fair, dude, to be fair, I didn't become I got a degree in radio, TV and film, and I wanted to do radio. And podcasting was just a byproduct of putting out a weekly outdoor show on the radio. So, but it's been a wonderful thing. And there was a time where I was like, oh no, I went to school for this, and now every Tom, Dick, or Harry can have their own podcast. Is it going to make life harder for me, like business-wise, financially? And the beauty of it is, no, it's been the exact opposite, because people were already listening, and so with the increased popularity of podcasts, then more people are just listening to mine. So I'm glad there's so much information I like to listen to that you couldn't get 10 years ago because podcasts didn't exist. So podcasting is here to stay. And like you said, these free form conversations, this is where people can get real insight, real thoughts. You can't censor a podcast, not yet anyway. So I encourage people to check yours out, and I certainly look forward to our next time in camp and the next time we hook up and just shoot the breeze on all things hunting. And it's been a fun visit.
Well, keep your calendar open April 8th through the 10th. You're coming to Elk Shape Camp, and I can't wait to hang out with you. We'll do an iron game. Should be awesome, man.
Maybe extend your stay, and that's right during our spring turkey season. So maybe we can work something out on that front too.
Well, we're actually out, man. We're taking somebody turkey hunting from the pre-sale the day before, and hopefully they smack it. And I'm coming down a couple days early, so we need to talk.
Yeah,
because I am coming down, and we got some hunts planned, so it'll be good.
Nice. All right, buddy. Well, hey, Godspeed.
Likewise.